Hello there, and welcome to Deep Space Sleep. I'm really glad you've arrived in this quiet moment, long before cities, tournois, or rushing days. Water shaped the world with its softness. Rivers moved through untouched forests. Rain fell gently on open fields, and oceans breathed in long, slow rhythms under star-filled skies. Water has always been Earth's calmest storyteller, flowing, settling, rising, and returning without hurry, as if guiding everything toward rest. Every drop carries a memory older than mountains. It drifts through clouds, settles into lakes, slips beneath the soil, and reflects the first light of early mornings. When water moves, it moves gently. When it rests deeply. And when we pause long enough to notice it, something inside us slows too. Our breath softens, our thoughts untangle, and the world feels simpler, quieter, easier to hold. In this video, we're going to drift with water through all its forms: the soft mist on leaves, the whisper of small rivers, the glow of oceans under the moon, the stillness of lakes, and even the frozen calm of distant ice. Nothing here asks for effort. Nothing here moves quickly. It's just the peaceful rhythm of water, carrying you into a space where the day becomes lighter and your mind grows quiet. Before we begin, feel free to share where you're listening from and what time it is where you are. Your words help others feel connected in this shared quiet, like small reflections glimmering across the same calm surface. For now, let your breath drift a little slower. Let your shoulders loosen. Let the sound and memory of water gather around you like a soft tide. Let's begin. Water on Earth began its story long before continents formed or oceans took shape. Scientists believe that some of the water we drink, touch, and see may be older than the sun itself, carried to our young planet by icy comets and ancient meteorites. As the Earth cooled from a molten sphere into a solid world, that early water slowly gathered on the surface, filling basins and valleys, becoming rivers, oceans, and clouds. Over millions of years, volcanic steam added more moisture, thickening the early sky and deepening the oceans. This slow arrival of water created the first calm places on Earth, where temperature softened, air cooled, and life could one day take hold. The water we know now is part of that ancient inheritance, still carrying memories of cosmic ice, deep magma, and the earliest breath of the planet. The water cycle moves with a softness that mirrors the gentle rhythm of breathing. Instead of rushing, water rises into the air through slow evaporation, drifts across the sky as vapor, and settles back to the ground as rain or mist. This movement happens constantly, yet almost never draws attention, because each phase unfolds quietly and gradually. A drop of water may spend days floating inside a cloud, then fall to the ground and glide into a stream, then seep into soil before returning to the air again. This cycle has continued for billions of years without ever hurrying, shaping climates, feeding forests, and carrying life forward. Even in storms, water itself remains gentle, in its essence softening heat, smoothing landscapes, and whispering through every corner of Earth. When water changes state from ice to liquid, or liquid to vapor, it does so with almost complete silence. Ice melts softly, without cracking unless pressured, slipping into liquid as though the boundary between forms barely exists. When water evaporates, Its transformation into invisible vapor happens molecule by molecule, too small and too quiet for human senses to detect. Even the formation of frost is silent. As delicate crystals grow across leaves and glass in patterns shaped by temperature and air, these transitions are constant, happening around us every day in countless places, in clouds forming above mountains, in dew gathering on grass, in steam rising from a warm surface. Water's ability to shift form without sound allows the natural world to change continually while remaining peaceful, steady, and deeply calming. The softness of flowing water comes from the way it moves around obstacles, smoothing sharp edges and reducing even strong currents into gentle patterns. Instead of breaking against stones, water curves around them. Instead of resisting gravity, it follows the path offered. This flexibility gives water its tranquil nature, allowing streams to murmur and rivers to glide as if guided by an unseen hand. Even in rapid motion, water maintains a graceful rhythm, carrying leaves, reflections, and light in smooth lines. Over time, this softness shapes entire landscapes, carving valleys, smoothing rocks, and depositing fine sediments in calm layers. The gentle motion of water makes it one of Earth's most soothing natural forces, always flowing, always adapting, always easing the spaces it touches. Water reflects light with a softness that turns brightness into calm. Instead of returning harsh angles or sharp glimmers, its surface scatters light in gentle ripples, creating shimmering patterns that move slowly with the breeze. At sunrise and sunset, water becomes a canvas of warm colors, pinks, golds, blues stretching across lakes and oceans in long et fluides réflexions. Even small puddles and shallow streams mirror the world above in softened shapes, turning forests, clouds, and stars into delicate, wavering images. This quiet ability to hold light without overwhelming it gives water its calming effect, inviting the mind to settle and the breath to slow. In every reflection, water transforms the world into something gentler, quieter, and easier to rest within. Humid air carries water in its gentlest form, holding tiny droplets and invisible vapor that drift quietly through the atmosphere. Even when the sky looks completely clear, the air is softly filled with moisture that rises and settles depending on temperature and light. This delicate humidity wraps itself around skin and leaves, creating a sense of calm, warmth, or coolness depending on the hour. Plants rely on this faint moisture to stay hydrated during the early morning, and forests breathe easier when the air holds more water. Humid air also softens the edges of sound, light, and movement, making the world feel quieter and more distant. Though it is invisible, this soft layer of moisture guides weather, comforts breathing, and brings a subtle sense of stillness wherever it drifts. Rivers and streams form slowly across time, shaped not by sudden force, but by the gentle persistence of flowing water. A stream may begin as a quiet spring rising through soil, or a thin ribbon of melted snow slipping down a mountainside. Drop by drop, year after year, the water wears away stone, carrying small pieces of earth downstream. Valleys widen, bends grow smoother, and channels deepen with a patience that spans centuries. Every movement of the water, no matter how small, contributes to the river's evolving path. From above, it looks effortless, as though the land naturally invited the water to pass through. Yet every curve, ripple, and bank is a reminder of the quiet work that water performs over immense stretches of time, shaping landscapes without noise or haste. Water pressure increases slowly as depth grows, changing so gradually that most creatures feel no sudden shift. Near the surface, the water feels light and familiar, but as one moves downward, each meter adds a soft, steady increase in weight. This gentle rise in pressure helps guide where marine life can live, creating comfortable zones for fish, plants, and delicate organisms in the deep. It also influences how sound moves underwater, allowing echoes to travel smoothly across great distances. The slow change in pressure is one of water's quietest qualities, revealing its calm and consistent nature. Whether in a lake, river, or ocean, pressure shifts without abrupt jumps, offering stability to everything within it. This steady environment allows underwater life to grow, migrate, and rest in a world shaped by slow, reliable forces. Water always finds its level, smoothing its surface until it becomes calm, even, and balanced. When disturbed, ripples spread softly outward, losing their height and energy until the water returns to stillness. This natural tendency creates surfaces that look like mirrors, reflecting sky, trees, and clouds in gentle, shifting shapes. Even in larger bodies of water, waves settle quickly once wind quiet, restoring a sense of order across the surface. This ability to self-level comes from water's deep connection to gravity, yet it feels almost like a choice, as though water prefers harmony over chaos. Watching water settle can be calming, offering a reminder that even in moments of disruption, smoothness and peace return in time. Water moderates the environment with a soft, steady influence that cools warmth and warms coldness. During the day, lakes and oceans absorb heat slowly, preventing temperatures from rising too quickly. At night, they release that stored warmth just as gently, keeping surrounding air mild and stable. This creates climates that feel balanced and comfortable, supporting plants, animals, and people who live nearby. Even small amounts of water, a light mist, damp soil, morning dew soften heat and add moisture to the air, reducing the harshness of dry environments. Water acts like the planet's natural comforter, smoothing extremes and creating spaces where life can thrive with ease. Its quiet ability to regulate temperature is one of the reasons the Earth feels inviting and alive. Water vapor begins as something completely invisible, drifting quietly through the air until just the right balance of temperature and humidity allows it to gather into mist. As the air cools slightly, often during dawn or after sunset, the tiny droplets begin to form, each one no larger than a particle of dust. Together, they weave a soft veil over the world, settling gently across meadows, forests, and calm lakes. This mist doesn't fall like rain or move like wind. It simply hangs, suspended in stillness, giving everything a faded, dreamlike quality. Trees become silhouettes, sounds soften and travel shorter distances, and even colors seem to breathe slower. Mist invites the mind to slow down with it, encouraging a sense of quiet reflection. It is one of nature's most delicate forms of water, appearing without sound, without urgency, and disappearing just as gently as it arrived. Raindrops create a natural music that calms the nervous system, each drop landing with a soft, rounded patter that blends into an almost hypnotic rhythm. When the first drops fall, the sound is sparse and gentle, tiny taps on leaves, petals, rooftops, and soil. As the rain continues, the pattern becomes more intricate, yet never overwhelming. Every raindrop carries a unique sound depending on how fast it falls, what it touches, and how the air moves around it. Together, these subtle tones create a layered soundscape that has soothed humans for centuries. Rein meuf le distant noise brings a cool scent to the air and anchors the mind with its steady cadence, even indoors. Listening to rain against windows creates a cocoon-like sense of peace, as if the world outside is breathing in a slow, comforting rhythm. Drizzle falls so lightly that it seems to exist between rain and mist, a delicate shimmer of moisture that descends through the air with almost no weight at all. Instead of forming clear drops, drizzle appears as countless tiny beads of water that hover before settling gently on skin, leaves, and fabric. It creates no harsh sound, only a faint, whisper-like presence that makes the world feel closer and more intimate. Walking through drizzle feels like moving inside a soft, cool cloud where dampness spreads slowly and evenly. Colors mute themselves into gentle greens, grays, and blues, and each step sounds quieter than usual as moisture softens the ground. Drizzle often forms during calm weather, when winds are minimal and clouds sit low, giving the day a tranquil, suspended feeling. In this peaceful state, drizzle transforms a landscape into something hushed, reflective, and beautifully slow. Warm rain and cold rain each carry their own comforting qualities, shaping the atmosphere in subtle but deeply felt ways. Warm rain often arrives during humid days or tropical evenings, touching the skin with a soothing, gentle heat that feels almost like a warm breath from the sky. It relaxes muscles, softens the air, and blends seamlessly with the warmth around it. Cold rain, on the other hand, brings a refreshing clarity. Each drop feels crisp and awake, carrying with it the scent of soil, leaves, and clean air. Cold rain sharpens the senses while still maintaining the quiet rhythm of rainfall, offering a sense of renewal. Despite their temperature differences, both types of rain fall with the same softness, creating steady patterns that comfort the mind. Warm rain invites you to slow down, while cold rain encourages a deep inhale, both carrying a peaceful presence that brings balance to the world. A single cloud is a floating world made of millions or even billions of tiny droplets held aloft by gentle currents of air. These droplets form when water vapor condenses onto microscopic particles like dust or pollen, creating a mist so fine that it can drift high in the sky for hours or even days. Within a cloud, droplets rise and fall slowly as air currents shift, giving the cloud its constantly changing shape. From the ground, clouds seem simple, but inside they are full of delicate movement droplets merging, splitting, evaporating, and reforming without making a sound. Sunlight filters through them softly, scattering into pale whites, greys, pinks, or golds depending on the time of day. Clouds provide shade, carry rain, and soften harsh sunlight, all while moving across the sky with gentle purpose. Watching them drift overhead feels like observing the sky breathe slow, steady, and endlessly calming. Dew forms during the calmest hours of the day, settling onto leaves as tiny droplets that cling like polished beads of glass. Each droplet appears when warm air meets the cool surface of a leaf, allowing moisture to condense into a perfect sphere. These dewdrops hold light in the gentlest way, turning blades of grass and broad leaves into sparkling surfaces that shimmer softly with the rising sun. When touched, the droplets move silently, sliding down the leaf's surface without sound. Dew is delicate and temporary, yet it nourishes plants by providing small amounts of water during early morning hours. As the sun climbs higher, dew slowly evaporates in silence, returning to the air from which it came. In these quiet moments, when dew clings to every surface, the world feels fresh, softened, and awake in the calmest possible way. Morning dew creates a refreshing coolness that settles across fields, forests, and gardens, offering a gentle touch that feels soothing against the skin. This coolness forms as temperatures dip slightly at dawn, allowing moisture to emerge from the air and collect on every surface. It is a natural lullaby for the environment, giving plants a peaceful drink after the night and signaling the beginning of another slow cycle of warmth and light. Walking through morning dew feels like stepping into a world that has just taken its first breath, grass bending softly underfoot, air crisp and quiet, leaves adorned with glistening droplets. Dew does not rush. It waits patiently until sunlight dissolves it, leaving behind only traces of freshness. This moment between night and morning carries a serene beauty found nowhere else in the day. Moisture softens soil in a way that allows life to grow, breathe, and move. When humidity rises or rain falls lightly, the earth absorbs water slowly, becoming more pliable and comfortable. Soft soil helps roots spread gently. Earthworms move freely, and small seeds push upward without resistance. As water seeps through layers of dirt, it loosens grains, enriches the ground, and creates a quiet network of hydration beneath the surface. This softening happens gradually, without noise or sudden change. The soil becomes darker, cooler, and more welcoming to life. Even footsteps are quieter when the ground is moist, as the earth gives slightly with each step. Moist soil is one of nature's calmest states, a resting point where growth becomes possible and the landscape prepares itself for new beginnings. Rain falls in many rhythms, each with its own gentle personality. Sometimes it begins with scattered drops that land slowly and unpredictably, creating a soft, irregular pattern. Other times, rain falls in a steady, even cadence, like a quiet metronome, marking time for the world. There are moments when rain drifts sideways with the wind, tapping lightly against trees and windows, and moments when it falls vertically in thin, delicate streams. Each rhythm changes the mood of the environment, some making the world feel thoughtful and slow, others creating a cozy sense of shelter. Regardless of its pattern, rain always lands gently, joining the earth with soft taps or faint murmurs. These shifting rhythms are part of rain's charm, offering endless variations of sound and motion that soothe the mind. Humidity in the air has a calming effect on skin, creating a soft, comfortable sensation that reduces dryness and irritation. When the air holds more moisture, the skin absorbs it subtly, maintaining a natural balance that feels soothing to the touch. This gentle hydration helps the body stay cool during warm weather and prevents the harshness that comes with dry, windy days. Humid air also softens the environment itself, smoothing the edges of light, reducing static, and giving the world a warmer, more enveloping presence. In calm, moisture, breathing feels easier and the body relaxes more naturally. This quiet comfort is one of the simplest gifts water provides, wrapping the skin and senses in an invisible, gentle embrace. A river moves with a softness that comes from its willingness to follow the land rather than fight it. Even when it travels long distances, its motion remains fluid and patient, curving around stones, slipping past fallen branches, and gliding through quiet valleys. The surface of a river reflects its mood, sometimes smooth like liquid glass, other times patterned with gentle ripples that shimmer under sunlight. Beneath that surface, water drifts in layers, each one moving at its own slow pace. Fish swim with the flow, plants sway with its rhythm, and sediments settle or rise depending on the river's gentle pull. Over time, the river's path becomes a memory etched into the landscape, shaped not by force, but by continuous softness. Watching a river move is like watching time stretch, slow, calm, and endlessly peaceful. Groundwater rises from deep beneath the earth through springs' quiet openings where water gently pushes upward after traveling through layers of soil, rock, and sand. This journey can take years, decades, or even century, allowing the water to cool, filter, and absorb minerals along the way. When it finally reaches the surface, it emerges in small pools, trickles, or clear streams that seem to appear from nowhere. Springs form the earliest beginnings of rivers and creeks, feeding them with steady, reliable flows that continue even when rainfall is scarce. The water feels cool to the touch, often clearer than surface water because of its long, filtered path. Springs create small oases for plants and animals, offering constant nourishment in quiet, shaded places. The rising of groundwater is one of nature's softest movements, slow, unseen, and deeply calming. A small stream creates a gentle background sound that feels almost like nature whispering. As water moves over stones and fallen leaves, it forms soft trickles, tiny splashes, and delicate bubbling noises that merge into a soothing melody. The sound of a stream is complex yet calming. Each pebble and each bend in the flow creates its own subtle tone. Unlike the strong rush of a river or the sudden fall of rain, the murmur of a stream is steady and predictable, the kind of sound that lulls the mind into rest. Animals rely on its quiet presence to navigate, drink, and find shelter. Humans, too, have long found comfort beside small streams, where the world feels sheltered and time seems to slow. Listening to a stream is like listening to a soft heartbeat in the landscape. Water shapes stone through a process so slow that it can only be understood across centuries. As water passes over rocks, it carries tiny grains of sediment that brush against the surface, smoothing rough edges and slowly carving new shapes. Even the hardest stones yield to the persistent touch of flowing water over thousands of years. Entire riverbanks shift, canyon deepen, and smooth river stones appear where jagged ones once stood. This quiet erosion creates landscapes that look effortless: curved cliffs, rounded riverbeds, and narrow valleys shaped by nothing more than water's gentle insistence. The process is silent, continuous, and deeply peaceful, reminding us that transformation does not always come with force. Sometimes it comes with quiet persistence. Clear water reflects the sky with a softness that feels like a second layer of atmosphere resting on the ground. When the surface is still, it becomes a mirror, capturing clouds, treetops, and passing birds in delicate, wavering images. Even in flowing water, reflections stretch and blur gently, turning the world above into moving ribbons of color and light. This reflective quality creates a sense of depth and calm, as if the sky is both above and below. People have long been drawn to this quiet magic, pausing at lakeshores, gazing into ponds, or watching the sky ripple in a river. The ability of water to hold light so gently is one of its most soothing traits, offering a peaceful connection between earth and sky. Rivers naturally branch as they travel, splitting into smaller channels that weave through soil and rock like delicate threads. These branches form when the river encounters gentle obstacles: sandbars, roots, stones, or slight changes in slope, encouraging the water to find multiple paths instead of one. Each branch moves at its own peaceful pace, some shallow and sunlit, others shaded and quiet. Over long periods, these natural splits create wide networks known as braided streams or deltas. Depending on the terrain, this branching behavior makes rivers adaptable, allowing them to spread gently across land and nourish wider areas. Where the flow divides, plants gather, sediments settle, and wildlife thrives in calm pockets of water. Watching a river branch feels like watching a thought drift into smaller, softer ideas, calm, effortless, and beautifully natural. Flowing water cools the air around it through evaporation, creating small pockets of refreshing, gentle breeze. As water moves, it releases tiny molecules that lift into the air, taking heat with them. Even a narrow stream can form a cooler corridor where the temperature dips slightly, making the surroundings feel more comfortable and alive. This soft, cooling effect is one reason riversides feel pleasant even on warm days. The environment becomes calmer, greener, and more inviting. Plants along the riverbank benefit as well, receiving moisture from the air while enjoying the mild temperature. This cooling spreads quietly, without wind or noise, blending seamlessly with the natural rhythm of the landscape. It is one of water's most peaceful gifts, an invisible comfort that softens heat and refreshes every living thing nearby. Algae and moss grow in and around rivers, adding soft shades of green that deepen the water's sense of calm. These tiny plants thrive where sunlight meets moisture, forming velvety patches on stones and gentle floating mats on the surface. Their presence filters the water, helping it stay clear and clean by absorbing nutrients and providing oxygen. As they sway with the current, they move like underwater grasslands, creating a tranquil, hypnotic motion. Moss clings quietly to rocks, softening their edges, while algae drape over surfaces like delicate green threads. Together, they create a peaceful underwater world where fish hide, insects rest, and reflections deepen into cool green hues. This quiet partnership between water and plant life makes rivers feel more alive, more balanced, and more inviting to the senses. A river bends naturally as it follows the shape of the land, curving gently around hills, forests, and plains. Instead of cutting straight lines, water embraces the terrain, forming loops and arcs that shift slowly over time. These curves, called meanders, create calm stretches of water along the inside of bends and deeper, stronger currents along the outside. As years pass, meanders widen, drift, or reshape, leaving behind oxbow lakes or quiet lagoons where the river once flowed. These soft curves give rivers their graceful appearance, making them look like long, flowing ribbons laid across the earth. Watching a river bend is like observing nature, right in cursive smooth, patient strokes that reflect the landscape's quiet story. Fish move with gentle precision through light currents, using the water's flow to guide their path rather than resisting it. Their bodies are shaped to slip effortlessly through streams, conserving energy by gliding with the current or resting in calm pockets created by rocks and roots. Even the smallest fish can sense subtle changes in water pressure, allowing them to navigate without sound. They move in soft pulses, tails flicking lightly, fins adjusting with tiny shifts. This rhythmic motion blends perfectly with the stream's peaceful flow, creating a dance that feels slow and harmonious. Watching fish move through gentle water reveals how deeply connected life is to the river's quiet rhythms, each movement calm, efficient, and beautifully aligned with the world around it. A still lake becomes a perfect mirror when wind settles and the surface lies completely undisturbed. In these moments of deep quiet, the water reflects everything above it, with near-perfect clarity, trees standing upside down, mountains resting against the sky, clouds drifting in soft duplicates. The lake's surface loses its texture and becomes a smooth sheet of light, inviting the eye to rest on its calmness. This mirror effect happens because water naturally smooths itself out, erasing ripples with steady patience until nothing remains but pure reflection. Standing beside such a lake feels like stepping into a world where movement pauses and silence fills every corner. The mind, too, reflects more clearly in these moments, slowing to match the stillness of the water. As sunlight shifts throughout the day, a lake changes color with extraordinary softness. In the early morning, its surface may glow pale blue or silver. By midday, it deepens into rich greens or darker blues. During sunset, warm tones like gold, amber, and rose gently spread across the surface, turning the lake into a slow-moving canvas. These changes happen because light interacts with water at different angles, scattering or absorbing colors in peaceful transitions. No two moments look exactly the same. The lake transforms continuously but silently, offering endless variations of quiet beauty. This gentle dance of light across water encourages the senses to slow down and appreciate the subtle rhythms of the natural world. Deep lakes are far colder than their surfaces, holding layers of cool, dense water that remain undisturbed for most of the year. Light barely penetrates these depths, so the lower layers stay dark, still, and quiet, almost like an underwater night that persists even in daylight. This coolness forms slowly as heavier, colder water sinks, creating a stable structure where each layer rests gently upon the one beneath it. The deeper the lake, the more silent and ancient the water becomes, preserving a calmness that feels untouched by the world above. Fish and plants adapt to these cool depths, moving slowly and conserving energy in an environment where warmth arrives only in thin layers near the surface. The coldness of deep lakes is not harsh. It is steady, comforting, and profoundly peaceful. A pond holds a unique kind of stillness, quieter even than lakes or rivers. Its small size allows water to settle completely, forming a calm surface that reflects nearby grasses, reeds, and sky in soft, wavering patterns. Sounds around a pond also feel softer. Bird calls echo at lower volume. Footsteps sink into soil, and even the wind seems hesitant to disturb the water's rest. Beneath the surface, tiny movements happen at an unhurried pace. Insects glide just below the waterline. Leaves drift downward, and small fish make ripples that vanish quickly. The entire pond feels like a self-contained world of quiet, where time moves more slowly and nature's gentlest habits reveal themselves. When a light breeze passes over a lake or pond, it creates small ripples that shimmer gently across the surface. These soft waves form delicate patterns, each one rising and falling in a smooth, rhythmic motion. Unlike ocean waves, which carry power and momentum, these tiny ripples are subtle and soothing, shaped only by the mild touch of air. They catch the sunlight in moving lines, making the water sparkle as though sprinkled with liquid silver. The sound, if any, is barely audible, a quiet brushing that blends into the background. These gentle waves remind us that even when water is disturbed, it responds with grace, transforming movement into something calming and beautiful. Water that gathers in a lake often takes thousands of years to accumulate, passing through countless cycles of rainfall, snowmelt, and underground flow before settling into the same quiet basin. Each drop might have drifted through clouds, seeped through soil, or traveled through stone before joining the lake's still body. Over centuries, the volume slowly increases, filling the basin layer by layer until it becomes a permanent, calm reservoir. This long accumulation gives ancient lakes their unique sense of depth and age. The water they hold is not just liquid but memory of seasons, storms, melting glaciers, and distant mountains. When we look at a lake, we are looking at time itself, gathered into one gentle, reflective surface. Sediments rest at the bottom of lakes in soft, quiet layers, settling grain by grain over centuries. These sediments come from fallen leaves, tiny minerals, drifting dust, and microscopic organisms, all gently descending through the water until they reach the floor. There, they lie undisturbed, creating a peaceful archive of the lake's history. Each layer tells a different chapter: warm summers, cold winters, storms, droughts, and moments of stillness. Because the deeper water hardly moves, these sediments remain exactly where they land, forming a soft blanket that muffles sound and movement below. This silent accumulation transforms the lakebed into one of the calmest places in nature, where time moves at its slowest pace. When fog drifts across a lake, it blurs the boundary between water and sky, covering the surface with a soft, floating sheet of haze. This mist often forms at dawn or dusk, when the lake's cool surface meets warmer air above. The result is a delicate blanket that moves slowly and quietly, hiding the far shore and turning the world into gentle shapes and muted tones. Reflections become faint, trees fade into pale silhouettes, and sounds grow hushed and distant. Walking near a fog-covered lake feels like stepping into another realm, one where the air is heavier, the light softer, and the mind naturally calmer. Fog gives the lake a dreamlike beauty, reminding us how gently water can reshape the world around it. Sound travels farther across the surface of still water, moving in long, smooth arcs without losing its clarity. A voice, a bird call, or even the faint clink of a stone can glide across a lake as though carried by invisible hands. This happens because calm water acts like a natural amplifier, allowing sound waves to skim across its surface instead of being absorbed. On quiet mornings or evenings, this effect becomes even more noticeable, creating a sense of spaciousness that stretches across the lake. The world feels connected in a soft, distant way. What happens on one shore can be heard clearly on the other. This gentle, echoing quality adds to the lake's peacefulness, as though the water itself is helping the landscape communicate in whispers. A lake reflecting the night sky turns into a second universe, doubling the stars in a quiet, shimmering display. When the water is still, the reflections become crisp constellations glowing in perfect symmetry across the surface. Even the faintest stars appear brighter when mirrored in water, creating a sense that the sky has descended to meet the earth. Standing beside such a lake feels like standing between two worlds, one above, one below, both infinite and silent. The water darkens into a deep, glassy black that holds the stars gently, making each point of light seem suspended in calm. This nighttime reflection is one of nature's most soothing sights, a reminder of how water not only shapes the earth, but also carries the heavens within its quiet surface. The ocean covers around 70% of Earth's surface, stretching outward in vast, continuous expanses that shape the rhythm of the entire planet. Its sheer size gives it a calm authority, an ability to hold heat, guide winds, and cradle the climate in slow, stabilizing cycles. When viewed from above, the oceans appear endless, a deep blue blanket wrapping the earth in quiet motion. Despite storms that touch the surface, the majority of the ocean remains steady and undisturbed, moving slowly in currents that take years to complete a single loop. Life within these waters, fish, corals, drifting plankton follows gentle patterns that evolve with the tides and temperature. This immense body of water acts as the Earth's soft heartbeat, always present, always moving, always nurturing. Its vastness invites the mind to breathe a little deeper, to imagine the world as a calmer and more ancient place. Ocean waves move with a natural rhythm that feels almost musical, rising and falling in long, gentle patterns shaped by wind, gravity, and the pull of the moon. Even small waves carry this soothing cadence, rolling forward, stretching across the sand, and then retreating in soft, foamy whispers. Each wave blends seamlessly into the next, creating an unbroken chain of motion that can go on forever without pause. This rhythmic repetition calms the senses, making time feel slower and thoughts easier to release. Even in deeper waters, where waves appear subtle from afar, they continue their steady rise and fall beneath the surface. Watching or listening to waves brings a quiet reassurance, as though the ocean is breathing in a slow, measured pattern that encourages the whole world to relax. Tides move with the lunar cycle, rising and falling in a gentle pattern that feels like the ocean's breath. This movement is guided primarily by the gravitational pull of the moon, with the sun adding its own influence in softer waves. Twice a day, the water lifts and lowers the coastline in a slow, predictable rhythm, touching shores and then pulling away again with patient precision. This natural breathing shapes ecosystems, allowing tide pools, coastal plants, and marine animals to live in patterns tied to the moon's quiet guidance. The regularity of the tides creates a sense of stability, reminding us that even in a world full of change, some movements remain steady and serene. Watching the tide come in or drift out feels like witnessing a planet-long sigh, soft, slow, and endlessly comforting. The deep ocean is a realm of near-total darkness and profound cold, far removed from the warmth and light of the surface. Sunlight barely reaches past the upper layers, leaving most of the ocean in perpetual night. Temperatures drop steadily as depth increases, creating an environment where movement slows, sounds fade, and life adapts to an ancient calm. Creatures in these depths often move with great efficiency and softness, conserving energy in a place where resources are scarce. The deep sea is Earth's quietest environment, layer upon layer of water-absorbing sound, light, and heat until only stillness remains. This calm darkness is not empty, it is full of gentle mysteries, slow drifting organisms, and the subtle glow of bioluminescent life. It is the planet's most peaceful chamber, a reminder of how quietly life can exist. Small ocean waves follow gentle, repeating cycles that soothe the senses with their predictable motion. These tiny waves form when light breezes skim across the surface, creating patterns that ripple outward in smooth, flowing lines. Each wave rises slightly, curls just a little, then flattens again as it meets the shore or merges back into open water. Their rhythm is steady but never identical. Each one is a variation of the last, forming a peaceful sequence that unfolds without hurry. These soft waves reflect sunlight in shimmering fragments, turning the sea into a field of dancing light. Standing near them brings a sense of calm, as though the world has slowed its pace to match their gentle cycle. The ocean appears blue because sunlight scatters through the water, with shorter blue wavelengths traveling deeper and spreading more easily than red or yellow light. As sunlight enters the surface, the water gently filters it, softening most colors and leaving the ocean wrapped in calming shades of blue. This scattering effect changes with depth, angle, and clarity, creating endless variations from pale turquoise near shallow shores to deep, velvety navy in open water. Even the sky's reflection plays a role, adding hints of softness that shift with clouds and weather. Because of this delicate interaction between water and light, the ocean becomes a living canvas, changing throughout the day in quiet transitions. Watching the sea shift from morning blue to afternoon green or sunset gold feels like observing the earth breathe in color. Sea breezes carry a delicate moisture that softens the air, wrapping coastlines in a cool, gentle embrace. As wind moves across the water, it lifts tiny droplets and vapor into the air, creating a light mist that refreshes the skin and brings a sense of ease to breathing. This humid air carries the faint scent of salt and minerals, adding to the ocean's calming presence. Even on warm days, the sea breeze cools the world around it, blending temperature, moisture, and movement into one peaceful rhythm. Plants near the coast thrive under this soft humidity, and animals, too, find comfort in the steady, moist wind that drifts inland. The ocean's breath is never rushed, only a quiet, continuous flow that keeps coastlines feeling alive and gently refreshed. The ocean transports heat across the planet through slow, powerful currents that act as Earth's natural temperature regulators. Warm water drifts from the equator toward colder regions, while cool water sinks and returns along deep pathways. This global circulation moves like a giant underwater conveyor belt, operating silently and steadily beneath the waves. It influences weather, climate, and entire ecosystems, helping moderate temperatures so that no region becomes too hot or too cold too quickly. Though invisible from the surface, these currents create gentle patterns of warmth and coolness that support marine life and shape the atmosphere above. The process unfolds over years, decades, or even century, making it one of Earth's slowest and most calming movements. This quiet distribution of heat reflects the ocean's role as a stabilizing, nurturing force. Seawater is heavier than fresh water because it carries dissolved salts and minerals, tiny particles that give the ocean its weight and unique character. These salts increase the density of the water, making it slightly heavier and allowing objects to float more easily than they would in lakes or rivers. The difference is subtle yet important. It creates distinct layers that rest peacefully atop one another, guiding currents, influencing marine life, and shaping underwater climates. When fresh water meets salt water, such as in estuaries, the two layers blend slowly, forming soft gradients where fish and plants adapt to shifting salinity. The quiet heaviness of seawater is part of what gives the ocean its deep, steady presence, grounding it with a gentle weight that feels ancient and comforting. Waves far from shore move with extraordinary softness, traveling across open water in long, smooth swells. These distant waves are formed not by immediate winds, but by storms that happened far away, sometimes days or even weeks earlier. As they travel, they stretch out and lose their sharpness, becoming slow, rounded pulses that glide across the surface in peaceful succession. Unlike the choppier waves near the coast, which break and crash, these open ocean swells roll with unbroken grace, rising and falling like the steady lifting of a calm breath. Sailors have long found comfort in this motion, describing it as the ocean's quiet heartbeat. Watching these gentle swells can make the entire horizon seem to move in slow motion, inviting the mind to drift with the same tranquil rhythm. Coral grows at an incredibly slow pace, adding only tiny layers of calcium carbonate year after year. From a distance, coral reefs seem vibrant and full of motion, but their foundation is built through patience, with each colony expanding just a few millimeters or centimeters at a time. This slow growth allows reefs to form intricate shapes, arches, ridges, and branching structures that become homes for countless marine creatures. In the quiet of underwater currents, coral simply absorbs sunlight and nutrients, building itself grain by grain. Because their growth is so gentle, coral reefs almost feel like underwater forests carved by time rather than movement. Their stillness creates pockets of calm where fish hide, where light filters softly, and where the ocean feels like a cathedral of silence. Fish move through water with such smoothness that their motion barely disturbs the world around them. Their bodies are built for silent travel fins, shaped like soft fans, tails that sweep in slow arcs, and scales that glide against water without a sound. In the gentle sway of underwater currents, Fish drift like floating leaves, adjusting to the pressure and flow with tiny, almost invisible movement. Schools of fish can shift direction all at once, creating ripples of motion that look like shimmering waves of light. Even large fish make surprisingly little noise, blending into the hush of the deep ocean. Watching them glide brings a feeling of ease, as if the water itself is teaching the art of moving without urgency. Bioluminescent creatures in the ocean glow softly in the dark, creating tiny pinpoints of blue and green light. Their glow is not harsh or bright, but instead resembles drifting lanterns moving through the deep. This gentle illumination comes from simple chemical reactions inside their bodies, small sparks that activate when they swim or when currents brush against them. In the stillness of deep water, the glimmer of bioluminescence feels almost alive, pulsing with its own calm rhythm. Sometimes these lights appear like falling stars, and other times like clouds of twinkling dust. Their presence transforms the dark ocean into a quiet dreamscape, where the boundary between shadow and light becomes soft and fluid. Seaweed moves slowly with the rhythm of the water, rising and sinking as currents shift. Its long, ribbon-like bladders float upward, then settle down like fabric in a gentle breeze. Because seaweed is anchored to the seafloor, it can sway without drifting away, creating entire underwater meadows that move together in unison. These quiet motions create a soothing pattern, like waves breathing beneath the surface. Fish, crabs, and small marine animals hide within seaweed forests, finding shelter in the soft, drifting leaves. The ocean's movement is absorbed and softened by these underwater plants, turning stronger currents into delicate, flowing costuras. Algae, though tiny and often unnoticed, produce a significant amount of the oxygen we breathe. Through photosynthesis, they use sunlight filtering through the water to create oxygen, releasing it in a slow, steady stream. This quiet process happens across vast stretches of ocean, with countless microscopic algae drifting like invisible green dust. Together, they act as the lungs of the sea, turning sunlight into breathable air with calm efficiency. Their presence supports entire ecosystems, giving life to creatures big and small. Without making a sound, algae help maintain the balance of our planet, demonstrating how even the smallest forms of life can shape the world through soft, persistent rhythms. Deep-sea animals move with extraordinary slowness, drifting through the darkness in quiet patterns shaped by the pressure of the deep ocean. Their bodies are designed for stillness, soft muscles, flexible limbs, and movements so gentle that they barely disturb the surrounding water. Many of them glow faintly, creating soft halos of blue or green light that illuminate their slow paths. Because food is scarce at great depths, conserving energy becomes a necessary rhythm, so every motion is measured, deliberate, almost meditative. Watching them glide is like observing living shadows that understand patience on a scale we cannot imagine. Their world is cold, dark, and silent, yet their calm drifting makes the deep ocean feel like a place of peace rather than mystery. The deep ocean currents are incredibly cold, carrying water that has sunk from polar regions and traveled thousands of kilometers through the underwater world. These currents move slowly, guided by differences in temperature and salt content, creating one of Earth's most stable patterns of motion. Though icy, these waters form the foundation for much of the ocean's life. distributing nutrients and maintaining global temperatures with gentle consistency. The cold of the deep does not rush, it settles. It lingers, and it becomes part of the quiet heartbeat of the sea. Because of this steady chill, life forms that depend on these currents adapt to a world where change happens gradually. The cold becomes not a threat, but a calm environment that sustains balance. At great depths, the water becomes almost completely silent, without wind, waves, or surface noise. The deep ocean feels like a vast chamber of stillness. Sound travels farther underwater, but at these depths, there are fewer creatures, fewer disturbances, and fewer movements to carry noise. This creates a kind of natural quiet that is both immense and soothing. The absence of sound allows even the smallest vibrations to be felt rather than heard, giving the deep ocean a sense of profound calm. It is a silence so complete that it feels like a different world, untouched by the rush of surface life. In this space, time feels slower, and the mind can imagine drifting through darkness without interruption. Sand at the bottom of the ocean is constantly arranged and rearranged by the gentle push of underwater currents. These grains settle into ripples and lines, forming patterns that look like soft sculptures carved by the sea. Even though currents may be slow, their influence accumulates, smoothing sharp edges and organizing the seafloor into quiet, flowing shapes. These sand formations change gradually, sometimes over months or years, giving the ocean floor a living quality without sudden movement. The shifting sand becomes a soft record of the water's passage, a story told not through sound, but through texture. As you move deeper into the ocean, pressure increases steadily, rising with every meter of depth. Yet this pressure changes so gradually and predictably that it feels like a constant, quiet force, rather than a sudden weight. Marine animals adapted to these depths have bodies that adjust naturally, their structures flexible enough to handle the slow increase. The pressure itself becomes part of the deep ocean's tranquility. It holds everything in place, creates stability, and shapes a world where nothing rushes. Even though the force is immense, it feels steady and calm, forming one of the most peaceful environments on Earth. Ice forms when water molecules slow down enough to lock themselves into an orderly pattern, creating a crystalline structure that feels both delicate and strong. This transformation happens quietly, with no sudden shift or sound. The molecules arrange themselves like tiny geometric tiles, repeating endlessly to form smooth sheets or intricate frost patterns. As ice forms, it expands slightly, creating a soft tension that helps shape winter landscapes. This process is so calm and gradual that you can almost imagine the world holding its breath while water becomes solid. Ice captures the memory of cold in a way nothing else can, preserving stillness inside every frozen layer. Snow falls through the air with a softness that absorbs sound rather than creating it. Each flake drifts gently, shaped by tiny variations in temperature and humidity, forming patterns that are never repeated. As snow lands, it settles without a whisper, creating a blanket that quiets the landscape, smoothing out edges and softening every surface. This silence is one of winter's most calming qualities, turning forests, fields, and cities into quiet spaces where noise seems to dissolve. Snow doesn't rush, it lingers, gathering slowly until the world feels wrapped in a gentle, cool embrace. Glaciers move so slowly that their motion is almost impossible to notice in real time. Their journey is measured in centimeters or meters per year, shaped by the steady pull of gravity and the pressure of their own immense weight. Inside a glacier, ice flows like a very slow river, bending and stretching over centuries. The landscape beneath them is carved gradually, leaving behind deep valleys and smooth stone surfaces. Despite their size, glaciers remain quais géants, advancing and retreating in rhythms that reflect the long memory of the Earth. Their slow movement brings a sense of timelessness, as if they exist slightly outside the pace of the rest of the world. Ice reflects light with a brightness that feels almost otherworldly, because the crystalline structure scatters sunlight in many directions. Frozen surfaces often appear dazzling, glowing in shades of white, blue, or silver. This reflection can make snowy landscapes glow even on cloudy days, creating a soft radiance that feels calm rather than harsh. Light, traveling through thicker ice, shifts toward blue tones, giving frozen lakes and glaciers a peaceful, deep color. The interaction between ice and light transforms cold environments into luminous spaces where brightness feels clean, gentle, and endlessly quiet. When water freezes on lakes or ponds, it forms layers that build up slowly over time. The top layer freezes first, then the cold sinks downward, thickening the ice sheet. Each layer traps tiny bubbles and faint patterns that record the conditions of the moment it formed. These layers stack like pages in a frozen diary, creating a surface that's firm yet beautifully textured. As temperatures rise and fall, the ice may shift slightly, but the overall process remains steady and quiet. Layered ice captures the rhythm of winter in its structure, reminding us that even cold has its own calm. Passion pulse. Underwater ice takes shape in ways that feel almost impossible, forming slowly in the cold, dark world beneath the sea where sunlight barely reaches. As seawater begins to freeze, salt is pushed away from forming crystals, creating delicate sheets and smooth, flowing structures shaped by slow-moving currents. These shapes often resemble curtains, waves, or massive frozen drapes suspended in the stillness, because the water around them moves with gentle consistency. The ice forms gradually, layer by layer, producing textures like polished glass or soft, rounded sculptures. When light filters down from above, it enters the ice and breaks into faint blues and greens, glowing softly through the frozen surface. The effect is calming, as if the ocean were creating its own quiet cathedral of frost. Everything happens in silence. No cracking, no splintering, only the patient formation of ice guided by cold and time. This underwater world feels untouched and ancient, reminding us that even in the darkest places, beauty grows slowly and peacefully, shaped not by sudden force, but by the quiet persistence of nature. Snow absorbs sound in a way that transforms the world into a soft, muted space where even familiar environments feel new and strangely peaceful. Each snowflake contains countless tiny air pockets, and when millions of flakes gather on the ground, these pockets trap sound waves, scattering them in all directions. This reduces echoes, dampens footsteps, and muffle distant noirs, creating an effect that feels like the world is exhaling and settling into stillness. Even busy streets seem to quiet down under snowfall, as if wrapped in a thick blanket of cold air and gentle silence. Walking through freshly fallen snow feels like entering a private, calm world where every movement becomes softer. The crunch of snow underfoot is muted. Voices sound warmer, and wind loses its sharpness. This absorption of sound is what creates the magical feeling after a heavy snowfall, the sensation that time has slowed and the environment has softened. Snow's ability to quiet the world helps create one of nature's most soothing atmospheres, a moment where the mind can rest, free from the usual noise that fills daily life. Ice crystals form through a slow, orderly process that turns simple water molecules into intricate structures with remarkable beauty. As the temperature drops, molecules begin to lock into place, creating repeating hexagonal patterns that branch outward into delicate shapes like feathers, stars, and needles. Each crystal's final form depends on humidity, airflow, and subtle shifts in temperature, meaning no two are exactly alike. What looks effortless is actually the result of countless tiny interactions happening quietly in the cold. When light touches these crystals, it scatters and reflects, creating soft sparkles that shimmer across surfaces. These crystals often appear on windows, leaves, and blades of grass, creating scenes that look almost hand-drawn by winter itself. Observing them closely feels like reading a frozen map made of geometric lines. Their beauty lies in their fragility. They melt at the slightest warmth, disappearing as quietly as they formed. Ice crystals remind us that even the smallest pieces of nature carry immense detail, built through patience rather than speed, shaped by stillness, temperature, and the calm, predictable patterns of cold air. As ice begins to melt, it undergoes a slow, gentle transformation where droplets form along the surface, gathering weight until they fall with a rhythmic, soothing sound. The process begins when warm air touches frozen surfaces, causing the outermost layer to loosen, creating tiny beads of water that cling for a moment before slipping away. The sound of dripping meltwater is soft and repetitive, like nature's own calming metronome. Each droplet reflects light before it falls, catching tiny glints of brightness. This gentle dripping marks the transition from winter's stillness into the movement of warmer seasons. Nothing about it is rushed. Melting happens at the pace of the sun's warmth, unfolding gradually over hours or days. Watching meltwater fall can feel meditative, as if the world is waking up one drop at a time, releasing the cold in small, peaceful breaths. Even in melting, ice maintains its quiet nature, turning rigid shapes into smooth, flowing water with no sharp sounds, only a soft, steady rhythm that mirrors the slow return of motion to the environment. Frost forms overnight when cold air draws moisture from the environment and arranges it into thin layers of delicate ice crystals on leaves, branches, and any surface exposed to the night. As temperatures drop, the water vapor transitions directly into solid form, bypassing liquid entirely, creating intricate white patterns that resemble feathers, lace, or tiny ferns. These frost designs build outward slowly, shaped by airflow, surface texture, and subtle shifts in humidity. By morning, the landscape appears transformed, coated in shimmering white patterns that glow softly when touched by light. Frost doesn't make noise. It forms in complete stillness, giving early mornings a sense of wonder and quiet. When sunlight rises, Frost crystals sparkle briefly before melting away, returning moisture to the air. This fragile beauty lasts only moments, but leaves behind a sense of calm and gentle transformation. Frost reminds us that nature's artistry often appears in silence, shaped not by dramatic forces, but by calm air, cold temperatures, and the patient arrangement of tiny crystals. Water vapor rises into the sky in tiny, invisible particles that gather slowly until they begin forming clouds. This transformation happens gently as warm air lifts moisture upward, cooling it bit by bit. When the temperature drops enough, the vapor condenses into microscopic droplets that cluster into soft shapes. What we see as a large, floating cloud is actually billions of tiny droplets suspended together, each one holding a memory of the water cycle, oceans, rivers, rain, and mist. This entire process unfolds in silence, high above the ground, where the wind guides the forming clouds into slow, drifting bodies of moisture. The birth of a cloud is one of nature's quietest acts, shaped entirely by temperature, pressure, and the patient movement of air. Clouds shift and change depending on the wind that carries them. Even the gentlest breeze can reshape their edges, stretch their forms, or merge separate clouds into one long, drifting sheet. Because clouds are made of droplets so light, they can float effortlessly. They respond instantly to even subtle changes in airflow. This creates the impression that the sky is breathing, expanding, softening, and rearranging itself in calm to fluid motion. Watching clouds move is like observing slow-motion waves in the air, their forms changing without noise or urgency. The wind is both sculptor and guide, shaping the sky in a way that feels endlessly peaceful. Thick clouds gather when countless droplets accumulate, merging together until sunlight can barely pass through. These dense formations soften the entire sky, turning bright days into muted, hazy atmospheres that feel quiet and still. The light becomes diffused, creating a gentle glow rather than sharp brightness. Thick clouds act like a natural filter, calming the landscape beneath them. Even though they may seem heavy, their movement remains slow and controlled, drifting in large, soft shapes across the horizon. Their presence can make the world feel sheltered, as if wrapped under a cool, protective blanket of moisture. Light clouds float more lightly, shaped by smaller droplets that allow them to drift slowly across the sky. These soft, delicate clouds move at a relaxed pace, often holding their shape for long stretches before gradually fading or merging into others. Because they are so thin, sunlight passes through them gently, creating subtle shadows and a calm brightness that feels easy on the eyes. Their floating motion seems effortless, like a thought drifting quietly across the mind. These clouds help create a peaceful sky, one that encourages slower breathing and quiet reflection as they glide overhead. Water droplets in the sky remain suspended for long periods thanks to the balance between gravity and rising air currents. Each droplet is incredibly light, small enough that upward-moving air can hold it aloft, allowing clouds to persist for hours or even days. This delicate balance creates a sense of weightlessness, as though the droplets are resting on invisible hands. The droplets move with air currents, shifting gently without falling, forming the constantly changing shapes we see from below. This suspension is one of the sky's quiet miracles, a reminder that even the smallest particles can float, drift, and linger when supported by the right conditions. When clouds accumulate enough electrical charge, they become the birthplace of thunder and lightning. Yet the buildup itself happens in almost complete silence. Inside these towering formations, tiny ice crystals and droplets collide as they rise and fall in slow atmospheric currents. Each collision transfers a tiny electric charge, and over time these charges separate into distinct layers within the cloud. Even though the process is invisible from below, the cloud quietly becomes a massive natural battery suspended in the sky. The tension grows gradually, building through gentle currents, shifting air, and temperature changes that happen without the slightest sound. Only when the charge becomes too great does the sky release its stored energy in a brilliant flash of lightning. But the long moments before that flash are peaceful, built from calm interactions of droplets and crystals drifting in slow motion. This patient accumulation of charge shows that even powerful natural events begin with the softest steps, reminders that the sky moves at its own measured pace before releasing its energy in a brief, bright moment. Thin clouds allow sunlight to pass through with a softness that transforms the sky into a gentle, glowing canopy. Because these clouds contain only small droplets spaced far apart, light can filter through in a diffused, velvety way rather than being blocked or scattered harshly. This creates a calm brightness that feels soothing to the eyes, as if the sky itself were wrapped in a soft fabric. The sun becomes a pale, gentle disk, its edges softened by the drifting vapor. These clouds move slowly, shifting shapes without breaking the serenity they create. Their thinness allows them to appear almost transparent, yet they still add texture to the sky, giving depth to what would otherwise be empty blue. Watching thin clouds drift by can feel like observing a quiet conversation between light and air. A meeting where nothing demands attention and everything unfolds in calm, graceful motion that encourages deep, steady breathing. Low clouds form close to the ground, creating a sense of comfort and calm as they drift in quiet layers. These clouds often carry a soft, muted light that feels different from the open sky above, offering a gentle atmosphere that makes the world seem smaller and more peaceful. Because they sit lower, they move more slowly, shaped by the quiet winds that flow just above the Earth's surface. Their presence can soften landscapes, blending hills, forests, and buildings into a cohesive calm. The air beneath them feels cool and steady, with moisture that settles lightly on the skin. Low clouds often bring a sense of stillness, as if the sky were lowering itself to wrap the earth in a quiet embrace. Even without rain, their gentle weight creates a peaceful environment that encourages slower steps and reflective thoughts. In moments like these, the world feels quieter, more intimate, and easier to rest within. High clouds stretch thin across the upper atmosphere, appearing like delicate strands of silk drawn across the sky, formed from ice crystals rather than water droplets. They catch sunlight in soft, shimmering ways that give them a pale, ethereal glow. These clouds are so thin that they seem almost woven into the heavens, moving slowly with winds that flow miles above the surface of the earth. Their graceful arcs and wispy shapes create a sense of openness, reminding us of the vast distance between sky layers. The light that passes through them feels clean and calming, tinting the horizon with subtle colors during sunrise and sunset. Despite their altitude, high clouds affect the mood of the landscape below, adding quiet beauty without ever blocking sunlight. Their presence is a peaceful reminder of how even the highest parts of the sky hold gentle forms shaped by cold air and slow winds. Rain begins with the formation of tiny droplets within clouds, long before any water reaches the ground. These droplets grow from microscopic vapor particles that collide and merge as they drift inside the cloud's quiet interior. At first, each droplet is too small to fall, held aloft by the gentle upward currents within the cloud. Over time, they join with others, becoming heavier in soft, gradual steps. When they finally reach a size large enough to descend, the first hints of rain begin not as sudden drops, but as a silent gathering of moisture preparing to fall. This slow process means that every raindrop carries a long history of drifting, merging, cooling, and growing within the cloud. The calm before rainfall is shaped by these tiny interactions, a quiet dance of droplets forming in a suspended world. By the time rain finally reaches the earth, it feels like the sky releasing a long, patient exhale, shaped gently from the smallest beginnings. Water makes up most of the living body, forming the quiet foundation that allows life to move, grow, and rest. Inside every cell, water holds molecules in place, shapes chemical reactions, and maintains the soft environment necessary for life to function. It cushions organs, smooths motion in joints, and regulates temperature with slow, steady precision. Because water moves so easily within the body, it carries signals, nutrients, and energy from one place to another in gentle flows. Even the rhythm of the heart and breath depends on water's presence, allowing electrical impulses and chemical processes to travel calmly. Life feels balanced and peaceful, partly because water keeps everything within us flexible and resilient. Without water, the body stiffens, slows, and struggles. But with it, the body feels supported, as though each internal movement takes place in a soft, fluid world. Plants draw water upward through their roots in a slow, elegant process that begins deep in the soil. Tiny root hairs absorb moisture, drop by drop, guided by differences in concentration and gentle pulls created by the plant's internal structure. As water rises through stems and trunks, it carries dissolved minerals that nourish every cell. This upward flow is steady and quiet, moving through intricate vessels that act like natural capillaries. When water finally reaches the leaves, it helps maintain structure, keeps the plant cool, and assists in creating energy through sunlight. The entire journey from soil to leaf happens without sound, powered by delicate forces that move in harmony. Plants stand tall because of these slow rivers within them, silent currents that give life shape and softness. Animals rely on water to regulate their internal temperatures, using evaporation, breathing, and circulation to release excess heat in calm, controlled ways. When the body warms, water within sweat or breath absorbs energy and carries it away as vapor, cooling the surface without sudden changes. This gentle process ensures that warmth leaves slowly rather than abruptly, keeping internal systems stable. Blood, made mostly of water, flows through veins and arteries to distribute heat evenly, preventing discomfort or sudden spikes. Even animals in extreme environments depend on these soft exchanges, using water to balance cold nights and hot days. Without needing noise or effort, Water manages the delicate equilibrium that allows creatures to move comfortably through the world. Water carries minerals and nutrients wherever they are needed, acting as a silent courier within living systems. In plants, it dissolves minerals from the soil and transports them upward to strengthen stems and create new growth. In animals, it carries essential ions through bloodstreams, supports digestion, and helps cells communicate. These movements happen through simple diffusion and pressure differences, but their effects are profound, enabling every organ and tissue to function. The journey of minerals is slow and steady, following water's patient pathways. This quiet transportation system ensures that life remains nourished without hurry or interruption. Soil stays soft where water is present, allowing roots to grow deep and strong without resistance. As moisture seeps into the ground, it fills tiny spaces between grains, loosening the soil and creating a gentle cushion for new roots to explore. This softness makes it easier for plants to anchor themselves, reach nutrients, and remain stable during wind or rain. Moist soil also supports countless microorganisms that help break down organic matter, enriching the earth further. The presence of water turns hard ground into a welcoming environment, helping forests, gardens, and fields thrive. Water's quiet work beneath the surface creates the foundation for life above it, shaping ecosystems with steady, calming influence. Water vapor in the air creates a gentle, warming environment that helps regulate temperatures in ways we often don't notice. When moisture is present, it traps a portion of the heat radiating from the earth, keeping it from escaping too quickly into the sky. This soft insulation effect makes nights milder, mornings less sharp, and weather patterns more stable. The air feels more comfortable to breathe, and the presence of moisture gives the environment a quiet, balanced feel. In forests, lakesides, and coastal regions, this warmth creates a sense of calm that settles across the landscape like a light blanket. Even indoors, the presence of humidity can soften the atmosphere, making the air feel kinder to the skin and lungs. Water vapor works constantly yet silently, adjusting the temperature of the world with slow, invisible movements that keep life at ease. Inside cells, water remains remarkably stable, creating a quiet environment where countless microscopic processes unfold with precision. Its molecules surround proteins, membranes, and internal structures, keeping them suspended in a fluid world that protects them from shock or abrupt change. This stability allows reactions to occur at the right speed and under the right conditions, without sudden fluctuations that might harm the cell. Water acts as both cushion and conductor, carrying signals and nutrients while maintaining a calm, internal balance. Even when the external world changes, temperature shifts, light fades, or stress increases, cellular water holds steady, absorbing impacts and helping the cell remain centered. Water helps maintain the structure of biological molecules, supporting the shapes that allow life to function. Proteins fold because water guides their surfaces. DNA curls into its famous double helix because water interacts with its backbone. And cell membranes form because water gently pushes certain molecules away. These relationships happen automatically and silently, requiring no force besides the natural attraction and repulsion between water and other substances. In this way, water becomes the quiet architect of life, supporting the curves, layers, and shapes that allow everything from plants to animals to operate smoothly. Water is nature's most universal solvent, dissolving minerals, tout nutriments, and gases with gentle ease. Because its molecules carry both positive and negative charges, they surround particles and separate them softly, allowing substances to blend without harsh chemical reactions. This ability makes water essential for digestion, growth, energy production, and even thought. Plants rely on it to draw minerals from the soil, while animals depend on it to transport nutrients through blood and tissues. All of this happens gradually, with water breaking things down in a controlled, calm manner that supports life at every level. Water supports life cycles by moving through environments with a steady, predictable rhythm. It evaporates into the sky, falls as rain, seeps into soil, fills rivers, nourishes roots, and eventually returns to the air again. This cycle allows ecosystems to rebuild themselves, gives plants what they need to grow, and provides animals with the hydration required for survival. Through these movements, water carries energy, shapes landscapes, and links different forms of life into one connected system. Everything living depends on this gentle cycle, and its constancy brings stability to the natural world. Water has existed on Earth since prehistoric times, carrying within it the memory of a world that was completely different from the one we know today. The water we drink, the rain that falls, and the oceans that surround us are made of molecules that have traveled through millions of years across volcanic landscapes, ancient seas, and the earliest atmospheres, long before forests, mountains, or even continents settled into their shapes. Water flowed over the young planet, cooling its hot surface and carving the first forms of land. These same molecules have been evaporated, frozen, melted, and condensed countless times, each cycle carrying with it faint traces of the environments it once touched. Every droplet contains a quiet history written through time, telling stories of Earth's formation, early life, shifting climates, and the endless turning of geological ages. The water cycle preserves memories by moving gently from one place to another in a continuous loop. As it evaporates from oceans, lakes, and soil, it carries with it microscopic traces of minerals, temperatures, and atmospheric conditions. When it condenses into clouds and falls as rain, it transfers these subtle impressions back to the land, recording new details as it moves through rivers and underground reservoirs. Over centuries, these movements create a silent archive of Earth's changing climate, shifting seasons, and evolving ecosystems. The cycle is both a mirror and a diary, reflecting what has happened while preserving what still remains. Water carries minerals through time, dissolving them from rocks and soils and transporting them across continents. As it flows through layers of Earth, it absorbs tiny particles that tell stories of ancient mountains and vanished landscapes. These minerals become part of rivers, oceans, and eventually living organisms. Through this slow journey, water links the deep past with the present, acting as a messenger that transfers the Earth's memory from stone to soil, from soil to plant, and from plant to life itself. Over thousands or millions of years, flowing water creates valleys by slowly cutting through rock and soil. Even the strongest stone softens under the persistent motion of water, which carves paths through mountains and plains with gentle, continuous pressure. These valleys become archives of past climates, revealing layers of sediment that show when rivers rose, fell, shifted, or vanished. The shapes of valleys echo the slow patience of water, its quiet ability to reshape the planet without force or noise. Ancient rivers eventually become stone as sediments settle, compact, and harden over geological time. These fossilized waterways preserve the shape of long-disappeared currents, capturing the memory of how water once flowed through landscapes that no longer exist. The patterns left behind smooth channels, layered deposits. Mineral traces are like frozen echoes of movement that ended millions of years ago. These stone rivers remind us that water leaves a lasting mark wherever it travels, even when the liquid itself has long since moved on. As we reach the end of this quiet journey through water's gentle world, you may notice how softly your breath has settled, how easily your thoughts have loosened, and how calmly your body now rests. Water has a way of doing that, easing itself into the spaces within us, cooling the busyness of the day, and encouraging every part of the mind to move just a little slower. From the deep oceans to the smallest droplets resting on leaves, water carries a peaceful rhythm that the world has followed since long before humans arrived. It rises, drifts, falls, gathers, freezes, melts, and flows again in patterns that never hurry and never struggle. Every form of water, clouds, rivers, mist, rain, ice, and oceans, shares the same gentle truth. Movement can be soft, change can be slow, and the world can function beautifully without rushing. As you reflect on everything water has touched: mountains, forests, deserts, valleys, the sky, you may notice how this element has shaped almost every corner of Earth. Yet it never demands attention. It never forces itself into view, even in its most powerful forms. Like storms or tides, water begins with calm beginnings, tiny droplets forming in quiet clouds, grains of ice gathering in still air, or soft ripples starting far offshore. It reminds us that strength can be quiet, transformation can be gradual, and renewal can be almost silent. Let the image of slow-moving rivers linger for a moment. Their currents are patient, shaping stones over centuries and smoothing every edge they touch. Even when you can't see them, they continue their steady flow, carrying minerals from one world to another. Think of still lakes, holding the sky in perfect reflection, so calm that mountains and clouds appear as if they are resting directly on the surface. Think of deep ocean water, dark and cool, drifting in unbroken quiet beneath layers of waves. And then, notice the smallest forms of water: mist hanging in the morning air, frost clinging to branches, dew resting on grass, raindrops gathering at the edge of a leaf. All of them exist in their own peaceful way, each contributing to the slow rhythm of Earth's endless cycle. As we move toward rest, allow the memory of these soft movements to settle deeper within you. Imagine water moving through soil, carrying life into roots. Imagine water within your own body, gently regulating, cooling, balancing, and supporting everything your cells do without you ever noticing. The same calm that guides oceans and rain also lives quietly inside you. Let yourself float in that thought for a moment, the idea that your body carries its own oceans, its own small reflections of the world outside, its own rhythms that move as patiently as tides. If you feel your muscles loosening, let them loosen a little more. If your breathing has slowed, let it slow as much as it wants to. You don't need to guide anything. Water never forces itself to flow. It simply follows the natural path that gravity, temperature, and time allow. You can let your mind do the same, drifting softly, settling naturally, without effort. The world outside will continue moving at its own pace. The day will unfold, or the night will deepen. But here in this moment, you can rest within the calm that water has offered for billions of years. A calm that existed before mountains rose, before forests spread, before rivers carved their beds. A calm that the earth has carried since its earliest days. Let that stillness wrap around you like mist resting on a quiet morning field. If your eyes feel heavy, let them soften. If your thoughts fade into gentle shapes, let them drift. And if sleep begins to rise like a slow tide, you can simply follow it. Thank you for being here, for sharing this quiet space, and for allowing water's memory to guide you into rest. May your next moments be peaceful, unhurried, and deeply calm. Good night.